Hey everyone, sorry it took so long. Thank you everyone for being here and being patient. Needless to say, I have not learned how to like transition from like using my streaming software from like different screens without having to, I don't know. So it's probably not going to be all that smooth, but it should be interesting to say the least. But that's how you learn, right? Hey, Swamp Lover. Mary Sue. Hey, Grizz. Hey, Jenny. Jade, Alexis, thanks for being here. You have Imperial Jade and Jaded Jenny. So I have the chat up so I can see those of you on D Live and those of you on YouTube. So, I mean, hopefully, if it actually works this time. So, hello, I couldn't hear what you said at the end of your live stream before the sound cut out. Oh, I just said that I was gonna. I don't know. What the last part that you heard was. I just said I was gonna end it and start a new stream because I wasn't able to like schedule it with this other streaming service that I'm using. So, but you're here, so that's good. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. We won't waste any more time since I've already wasted a lot of your time. I don't want to do that anymore. So, and hopefully you guys can hear me. Let me know if you guys can hear me too, please. So for those of you who are here and, I'm assuming most of you that are here, or the majority of you that are here, already know and are familiar with the Watts case. But if you're not familiar with it, I've been covering it for over 2 years now. The official narrative states that Christopher Watts killed his pregnant wife and 2 little girls and dumped their bodies at his place of work in Colorado. He is now allegedly serving multiple life sentences at Dodge Correctional in Wisconsin because he took a plea deal and confessed to all the murders. So that's the little synopsis there. I'm sure, again, like I said, most of you know all about it, but just in case there's any new people, that's your short synopsis. So, of course, over the 2.5 years, many people started to notice the inconsistencies in the case, holes in the narrative, stuff not adding up, due to the fact that they released all of the discovery, or not all of the discovery, but a huge portion of information, let's say that anyways, to the public without having to file like a CORA request or a FOIA request. They also released body cam footage, and witness interviews, quote unquote, etc. So here we are 2.5 years later. Now, over the period of that time, I have uncovered a plethora of odd and strange connections, I guess, not only in the discovery itself, but also in the show American Horror Story. And if you're not familiar with predictive programming, that's what we're finding with these connections in the show American Horror Story. Now, there's a couple of theories as to why these people that are orchestrating these events use predictive programming. One is to essentially subliminally condition us for the event when it happens, so that no matter how tragic it is or how unbelievable it might seem, we will subconsciously just believe it. Another theory is that the powers that be, right? We don't know exactly who they are. We can only speculate, but definitely the elite and the higher power ones. So the other theory is that they believe in karma. So if they tell us what they're going to do, essentially, and leave clues for us, whether it be in movies, television, or in in an actual event itself, and we're too stupid to realize it, even though we would have absolutely no way of knowing that. I mean, even the people that are aware of what they're doing, sometimes they can spot it, but not necessarily be able to predict what they're going to do next, if that makes sense. So if they leave these clues for us in these shows and movies and in other events, and we're too stupid to realize it, then that's our own fault. But they now no longer have karma on their hands, which is a pretty, ridiculous way to to look at it that way. But that's just what they believe. So, and again, those are just theories, but predictive programming, in my opinion, is real. We see it all the time. So that's what we're going to, or I'm going to be covering today. And I don't think the chat's not moving, so I really hope you guys can hear me. Let me scroll down. Oh, Mary Sue, StreamYard is just a streaming service, or like a streaming software or whatever that creators can live stream from. So like StreamYard is just like Restream or OBS, except with OBS it's an open source software compared to as StreamYard and Restream you can only use it from the browser, and it's very limited on what you can do with it. So sorry, I didn't mean to confuse anybody, but with Restream that I'm using, I can also use my OBS software, but our program, and also multi-stream on DLive and YouTube. But with StreamYard, I can't multi-stream, and I can't multi-stream on StreamYard, but then I can't schedule the live stream to notify you guys or let you guys know ahead of time that I will be streaming, unless it's at least a day in advance. And like I said, I'm a procrastinator, which is I'm not gonna lie. So that was the only way that I could notify you guys and let you know and give you guys some sort of heads up that I was going to stream. So I apologize for the confusion. Hey, Vegan. Good to see you. Hey, Kathy. Hi, Callie. Are you going to try and stay up for me? I know, it's always late when I'm streaming for you. So any questions as far as like what I just said? As far as like the predictive programming and anything else? I don't know how delayed the chat is, so we'll see. No questions? Oh, no. Yeah, VA, hi, by the way. No, I don't. I know, right? I just got done saying with that video that I posted last night. I'm streaming a Ole Damagar video, and the replay will be up for 3 days. And somebody, one of my subscribers said, Megan, there's no replay there. I was like, are you sure? Maybe try refreshing. So then I went, and because it was up, because I did check it last night, and then after they had mentioned it to me, I went and checked, and of course they're not there. So I was like, okay, well, no, that makes me look really good. But I'm not sure. I have no idea why they're not up. That's never happened before. Hey Tech. So I don't know. I don't, by the time I contacted DLive, or by the time they got back to me about it, I figured it was just a glitch, and it would probably, once I saw that they weren't up, I was hoping that they would show up again, but I haven't checked in a couple hours, but I don't think they are back up. So somebody did tell me earlier that I'm not the only one that's experiencing that problem, so it must be, I'm assuming, something on DLive's end. So I do apologize for that. Again, thanks a lot, DLive. Make me out to be a liar. But I don't mind. I don't mind streaming Ole Damagard again. And I really, really do encourage you guys to, if you can't make the live stream, it's better if you do, because then I'm there and I'm in the chat, and I can, put my 2 cents in or whatever, and answer any questions that you guys have, and just, converse with you guys. So, but if you can't make it, I do, when the replays are up, encourage you to go and watch, especially with Ole Damagard, any of those replays, and several other things that I have been streaming lately, because even though he's not talking specifically about like the Watts case, everything that or the majority of what he's talking about is has a lot to do with the Watts case, because like I said, in these events they use these same tactics and the same protocol, I guess, for each of these orchestrated events. Now again, they're going to not have all of the same ones all the time, because they're going to cater to that specific event depending on what it is. But essentially, for the most part, yes, they use the same plan of attack, I guess. For instance, like the symbolism, the numerology, the predictive programming, the just certain little things, or actually big things, but certain things that they use to orchestrate these events. So yes, I do encourage you to try and catch those replays if you can't be there. And like I said, since it's not up still, I have no problem streaming it again. So again, I'm going to try and watch what I say on this stream, simply because I am on YouTube still, and I forget that sometimes when I'm multi-streaming. So if I do, pause and kind of change my words around at times, it's probably because I'm noticing that I'm getting a little bit too relaxed. So bear with me, please. Mary Sue, yeah, he has a lot of, he has a whole website of content, but there's a lot of interviews that he's done in the past, and the one that I just played recently, I actually had not seen. It was from, I'm trying to remember what year it was. It was after the Vegas thing. So it had to be at least 2019. So, and that's the newest one I've seen. So, but the problem is that he actually did have a YouTube channel for a while, and YouTube scrubbed, shut down his channel, and for the most part has scrubbed a lot of Ole Damengard's content from YouTube. So you're gonna have to find it like on BitChute, or like, for instance, I found that latest interview that I played or streamed yesterday on Internet Archive. They have a lot of information, a ton of information. I like it. That website is so addicting. Like, you could be on there for hours and hours and hours. So that's the unfortunate part about it. But yes, there is still some of his content out there, like quite a bit of it. But again, and he talks about a lot of the same stuff that I'm trying to show you guys as far as the Watts case goes. Except the only difference is he's an expert on conspiracy theories and these events, and I'm not. So a lot of what I'm trying to show you guys, I learned from him. Not just him, but several other people, but a lot of it I did learn from him. So that's why I really do, like I said, encourage you guys to watch his content. And you don't have to just watch it on my stream. Please feel free to look him up on other websites and stuff. Again, there are some on YouTube, but not very many. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with the replays. And like I said, someone had mentioned to me earlier that I'm not the only one on DLive that's happened to. So that makes me feel better anyways. But still, again, thanks DLive for making me look like an ass. Okay, so let's get started then. Any more questions, actually? Since I'm actually paying attention to the chat. Since it's right in front of me. It's just difficult when I have it on my phone. Yeah, I haven't had that happen either, Tech. There was that period of time where they were like cutting my my streams shorter than the actual time. So, but then that seemed to go back to normal. And then, but of course, like right when I'm saying, oh, they'll be up for 3 days, and then people come from YouTube and they go, they're not there. And I go, yeah, they are. And they're like, no, they're not. I'm like, I better go check. I wonder if it was the AH thing. I haven't received any emails from DLive saying that I'm suspended or anything. So, yeah, I know, right, Swamp Lover? I think I figured out the buffering issue too. I thought I was hardwired the whole time, and I wasn't, because my port for my Ethernet cable is so messed up. I know, it's sad, but what are you gonna do? I'm trying. Stop giving me a hard time. Damn it. I'm just kidding. Okay, so again, this is probably not going to go smoothly because I don't know how to make the PowerPoint full screen and then switch over to the browser, because I want to show you guys some stuff on the browser without minimizing the PowerPoint, and then so we'll see how it goes. But then again, bear with me, please. You got a notification, Kelly? Oh, okay, good. There is connection on YouTube playing now. Oh, yeah, that's because I'm multi-streaming, Mary Sue. So that way, you know, anyone that doesn't have D Live can see it on YouTube and vice versa. So, or for the people that just are anti-YouTube, and I don't blame them. Okay, so let's see if I can make this full screen. Tech, I should have asked you before I went live, or not right before I went live. That wouldn't be very smart. But I should have asked you how to transition between the browser and PowerPoint back and forth, so I can just, you know, talk about it in the PowerPoint and then go from PowerPoint to the browser. But that's okay. Again, this is how we learn, right? Okay, it should be pulling up a slideshow, but we'll see. Okay, so it's showing full screen for me. Okay, one sec. Sorry, guys. Okay, I don't know how to make it full screen, so I'll just try to zoom in for you guys. I don't know what's going on. So I might be having to minimize and maximize here. Okay, I don't know how to make it full screen. Oh boy. This is fun. I know how to zoom in, but I don't know how to get rid of all this. Okay, alright. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. I don't know how to get my freaking... I don't know how to get my PowerPoint back to normal. It's like super zoomed in and I press shift and now it's not. Shift to pan. Oh, there we go. Gosh. Okay, so I don't know how to make it full screen with playing it on the thing, so I mean showing it on the screen, unfortunately. So hopefully you guys can see it. Okay, so sorry about that, you guys. Thank you for being patient. So what is happening here with all these connections? So not only do you have the predictive programming, all the connections, the predictive programming in American Horror Story, but what the producers of American Horror Story do is, so Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk are the producers of American Horror Story. They grew up as kids watching horror films, so they're like infatuated with them, and like Rosemary's Baby, Friday the 13th, Dracula. So how they get their inspiration for a lot of the content in the show is they will take things from or scenarios or people from real life serial killers, cult leaders, or they'll get inspiration from classic fictional movies, right? So like the ones I just mentioned. So all your horror movies, so they get the inspiration from both real life and fictional, and they incorporate it into the show. And again, such as the cult leaders and infamous serial killers, and other characters from the classic horror films. So, and I just said that, but that's okay. So in the Discovery, you'll have these connections, the same thing that they're doing, the producers of American Horror Story are doing with, and have been doing with, their show. They're doing the exact same thing with the Watts case. You guys see what I'm saying? So the same way that the producers are getting inspiration and putting it into their show with these characters and infamous serial killers, the exact same thing, but they're putting it into the Watts narrative. So they're adding these fictional scenarios and these real life scenarios into the Watts case, but just flipping it around. So, in my, now, I didn't like go through the trouble of showing you like the receipts, only because all of this, or the majority of this information, there is some new information here, but the majority of this information is in my videos that I've made. So all my American Horror Story videos, all my name connections. Thank you, Tech, and everybody else who's donated. I appreciate it. So if you want to go back and watch my videos, then you'll be able to see where I've pointed out in the Discovery where it actually has this information. But the reason, like I said, for doing this is because I want to, since my videos are all scattered, kind of scattered out, I don't think it maybe necessarily gives it that like shock factor, because some people don't watch all of my videos, or again, maybe they watched like one a couple months and then I released another one a couple months later or something. Do you see what I'm saying? So by doing this, I'm hoping that if you guys see it all together, it'll, for the most part prove, maybe not prove, but it'll show people that these connections that I've found are not coincidental. Because how many does it take for it to no longer be a coincidence? You know what I mean? So that's my goal with this live stream, if I can make it through it. Okay. So again, and I know I'm being repetitive, but I just want to make myself clear. Excuse me. So again, the same thing that the producer American Horror Story, how they get their inspiration from these other fictional and non-fictional cases or characters or movies, and incorporating it into the show. Whoever's in control of this, or was in control, or is in control of this Watts narrative, is doing the exact same thing, but putting these characters and these scenarios into the Watts case. Do you see that? Does that make sense? And I'm not saying it like that because I think you guys are slow. I'm just saying that because sometimes I don't feel like I make sense. So that's the only reason why I'm saying that. But, and again, I just want to make sure that you guys do understand it, just because these connections are, and the American Horror Story predictive programming is one of the biggest red flags in this case, even though it's not like hard factual evidence. It is just like circumstantial. But again, when you see how many of them there are, that's when you have to sit back and go, okay, what's going on here? That's really weird. How can it be possible that all these connections are in there, but yet this is supposed to be a case that was just that just took place naturally, right? So let's start then, okay? Here we go. So in the discovery of the Watts case, there is or I'm sorry, we'll start with the left. So Ted Bundy, I think everybody is probably familiar with who Ted Bundy is, right? Ted Bundy, infamous serial killer, like one of the biggest, right? So I'm not going to go into all that because, like I said, I think you guys probably know who he is. As it says on the screen, infamous serial killer. In the Watts narrative, in the Discovery, and again, I show evidence of this in my videos from the actual Discovery, you know, to show you guys, so you don't have to go look it up yourself. But you will have to go back and watch the videos because I didn't want to go through all that again to when you guys could just go back and watch the videos if you haven't seen them. So, but in the Discovery, it talks about Officer Ted Bundy. So, if you followed me for a while, you probably heard me say many times that they literally put these clues and these connections right in front of our faces in plain sight, but the majority of people will not even realize it. They will have no idea. But again, if you know how these people operate and you know not necessarily what to look for, because again, they do put it in plain sight. So if you're aware of them, you don't even have to look at them. They're literally right there, and they're very, very obvious. It's like almost ridiculously obvious. So, so even though I did say that, they're not gonna, even though it says Ted Bundy, right? If they put Ted Bundy in the case, I think that might have been a little bit too obvious, right? And now keep in mind, it's not like I'm going, I see the Discovery of the Watts case and I go, oh, look, Officer Ted Bundy, that sounds a lot like Ted Bundy. This whole case must be orchestrated. You know, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm doing, right? It's not one thing where I'm just going, oh yeah, there's one thing that's really odd and come to this conclusion, right? This is over 2 years of research and reading the Discovery compiled together. And this isn't even in this live stream, it's not even all of them, right? And I know that I wanted to compile them all together, but there's that many. So there may be a part 2 of this, but for the most part, I did compile them all together in one area for you guys to see on paper. So, so the next one is Otto Wilson, who murdered 2 prostitutes. And let me see if I can switch to mine, because I do want to show you guys some sort of comparison here. Okay. Well, that was much faster than the first transition, right? So that's good. Okay, so as I said, Otto Wilson, and a lot of these searches, like, so I just knowing how these people who are orchestrating these events, knowing that they really like their names and their symbolism, again, in their numerology. I simply just started looking up, you know, obviously the Ted Bundy one was obvious. I didn't need to look that up, but I started looking up just random names that were mentioned in the Discovery, because I knew that the majority of what they put in that Discovery, or in this case, it means something. So a lot of these searches are just, you know, put the name in and it's just a one-step search. That's all I did for this one. I put in Otto Wilson. And the first thing that came up, or not the first thing, but it, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 searches down, it says Murderpedia, so I click on it. And here you have Otto Stephen Wilson. Classification, murderer. Hopefully you guys can see this. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Okay, characteristics, mutilations, compulsion towards bloodlust, number of victims 2, date of murders, November 1944, date of birth 1911. Victims profile, Regina Lee Griffin, that's interesting. Lillian Johnson, 38, prostitutes. Murderpedia, really? What do you mean, tech? Method of murder, stabbing with a razor-sharp carving knife. Location, Los Angeles, California, USA. Status, executed by asphyxiation gas at San Quentin Prison on September 20th, 1946. And then, of course, it tells you the whole... there might even be some connections in there with the whole story. But the important part is the fact that this name came up. So again, yes... Could it be coincidental that, hey Google, could it be coincidental that there just so happens to be another person that was working the case, the Watts case, who just happens to bear not only the same first name or last name, but the first and last name of a convicted murderer? It's okay, Google, no problem. Thanks for being here. So I actually didn't start noticing these things, these name connections, until after the American Horror Story connections. So it wasn't like I just noticed them right away. Do you know what I mean? But being that I have done a lot of research on American Horror Story, and I did watch all of the seasons, and the fact that I do know how the producers get their inspiration for the show, and then I started seeing, like, of course, at first the Ted Bundy, and then and then the Otto Wilson, and then, so on and so forth. So it's not like there's just 2 connections, you guys. There's several connections that has led me to this theory. Hey Sandy, good to see you. So, I'm like, what in the world? Like on the first page of search of the search, you have Otto Wilson. So again, you have the first and last name, which makes that even less coincidental. So I did want to show you guys that. But I'm going to close it out so that my computer's not slow. Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, so I guess I could have left it up, but so then you have Serhej, and I'm probably saying this wrong, but hi Crystal. Serhej Tak, and if anybody's Ukrainian out there knows how to pronounce this name, I looked it up months ago, but I think I'm saying it somewhat correct. Okay, so Ukrainian serial killer, victims 23. And then you have Officer Katie Tack, who was in the K-9 unit for the Longmont Police Department. So, again, all I did was, I was like, Tack? That's kind of a, and again, I'm probably saying it wrong, probably botching it, but it's one of those things where I was like, okay, that's kind of a weird last name. Because there seems to be like a lot of those instances in this case, right? And just because it's a weird last name doesn't mean anything. There's a lot of, long and weird last names or whatever. Not weird, but ones that you are not familiar with. So, and I also looked up these names simply because, again, if you know how these people like names and the meaning behind names and words, then you'll find a lot of your answers when you look up certain things. So, and again, a lot of them are just one-step searches. You don't really have to dig that deep. Oh, and you guys didn't even see that. Sorry. Okay, here you go. Sergei Tack, Ukrainian serial killer, and then Officer Katie Tack, K-9 unit, Longmont Police Department. Sorry about that. Okay, so here's Sergei Fedorovich. Okay. September 15th, 1952. November 4th, 2018, was a Soviet and later Ukrainian serial killer convicted for the killing of 37 women. I had 23 on there. Maybe that's all he was charged for. Okay. Either way, that's a lot of women. It's terrible. And girls in Ukraine and Soviet Union from 1980 to 2005. Okay, so also spelled Sergei, okay. Maybe the H is a G. Was born on September 15th, 1952. Russian SFSR, Soviet Union. Let's get to the murders. 1984. That's interesting. See, even I didn't catch that before. If you have been following me for a while, you will probably have seen my American Horror Story, Hey Keys, that goes through all the connections of the season of 1984, and 1984 has popped up several times in this case. So, not only that, but Shannon was born on January 10th, 1984. So that's rather interesting. In 1984, young women and girls began to noticeably disappear across Kharkiv Oblast and a couple other countries that I'm not going to try to pronounce in eastern Ukraine, near where Tack lived and worked. He targeted female victims aged between 8 and 18 who would be raped, suffocated, and after they were dead, performed. Okay, we don't need to hear all that. Okay. Tack used his police knowledge to mislead others investigating his killings, such as choosing victims near railway lines recently treated with tar to throw police dogs off his scent. In August 2005, Tack attended the funeral of one of his victims, where children who were also attending claimed to have seen him with the victim shortly before her death. He admitted to his crimes, claiming to have killed over 100 people until his arrest, and demanded the death penalty. After 1 year trial in 2008, a tribunal in I'm not going to attempt to say that one either, sentenced him to life imprisonment for the murder of 37 women and girls over more than 2 decades. Over the years, 15 men were wrongly jailed for some of the murders for which Tack was found guilty, one of whom committed suicide, and another who was not released until March 2012. That's terrible. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine going to, spending the rest of your life in prison, or even any time in prison for being innocent when you're innocent? I mean, Really, can, like, think about it. Like, that would be probably one of the worst things ever. Knowing that you're innocent and no one will listen to you, or you just have no help at all. It's terrible. Okay, so again, one connection, right? Probably coincidental. More than likely. It's only one. So let's not, be all conspiratorial, Megan, and just go straight to that. Then you have two. And not only the two, but and let's not forget all of the American Horror Story connections and predictive programming that we're going to go through in this live. And I'm going to try and not be here forever. Promise. So, one, coincidental. Two, yeah, probably, it's only two, right? It's very likely it can happen. Maybe Otto Wilson is a very, very popular name, right? So we're not going to just go to just straight conspiratorial right yet. Then now you have three people involved in this case who bear the same names as prolific serial killers. Or at least two that are prolific and one who's still a serial killer. So what are the odds, right? So that's three already. So I'll have to change that to fix that. But okay, the next one you have the Ken and Barbie doll killers, Paul Bernardo and Carla Homoka. So when I saw that, in this discovery that there was an Officer Kenneth or Ken Doll, not only did I search his name, but I just so happened to not only watch that movie, I'm trying to remember what it's called. I don't know. But it has a chick from Orange Is the New Black in it. But it's the movie's based off of the Paul Bernardo and Carla Homoka murders. So I just recently watched that, and so I knew about the Ken and Barbie part. Now, when I looked up in public records, Kenneth Doll, believe it or not, there's quite a few Kenneth Dolls out there. Apparently parents like to call, I don't know why, sorry if your name is Kenneth Doll, but I don't know why your parents would name you that. Unless they really like Barbie and Ken dolls. I don't know. To me, hopefully they weren't made fun of too much. But okay, so you have and this is one of Kenneth Doll or Ken Doll was one of the main officers in this case. That worked a lot on it in the Watts case. So oops, wrong button. Stream starting soon. You guys are like, oh great, here we go again. Okay, meet the Ken and Barbie killers, Paul Bernardo and Carla Homoka. Paul Bernardo, with the help of his wife Carla Homoka, plagued a Canadian suburb with a series of horrific rapes that were only the tip of an iceberg. She kind of looks like maybe not. I'll say she kind of looks like Kessinger, but maybe I'm just spent way too much time on this case. Okay, the day their wedding day, Paul Bernard and his wife Carla Homoka were a seemingly unlikely pair of Canadian killers. And here's a nice little Tesla advertisement for you. There you go. You're welcome, Musk. But Before Bernardo was put behind bars for multiple murders, tortures, and rapes, he was a salesman by trade that lured his female victims using pickups and pitches he learned on his day job. He studied how to entice women like he studied how to do well in business. He read the classic horror novel American Psycho like his Bible, and when he met and married Carla Homoka, his sadistic streak only increased as she encouraged his behavior. The couple even became known as the Ken and Barbie Killers. In the end, Paul Bernardo was found too responsible. Okay, that's a typo. For at least 13 rapes. That's interesting, and perhaps four killings. So, and guess what his Paul Bernardo's father's name was? I think it was his father. Should have double checked that. I'll double check that, but I believe it's Kenneth Dahl. It's in my video that I made about all this, all about all these connections. And again, I'm sorry if this is repetitive to some of you, but I wanted to again do this because so that people can see it, or so that you guys can see it compiled together. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, hey, throat punch. Oh, well, first, so now we have, how many is that? 1, 2, 3. So now we have 4. So this is where you kind of, again, have to like step back and say, what the hell's going on here, right? And we're not even getting to the meat of it yet, right? Like Kessinger says, we're getting, the meat and potatoes, or whatever the frick she says in her interview. She just gets done, like, supposedly bawling her eyes out about the girls, and then she's like, no, let's continue. We're just getting to the meat of the story. Like, who says that? I mean, or what female says that? I never heard a female say, oh, let's get to the meat of the story, that's essentially what it is, a story. Hey, Gerald. Thanks for being here. And anyone else I missed? Selena? Okay, so 4 now. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the same, the same thing that the same way that the producers of American Horror Story get their inspiration and use it into the show, incorporate it into the show. Again, the exact same thing into the Watts narrative. In several episodes of American Horror Story, or you can find, like for instance, 1984 is based around a camp, right, where these camp counselors go over the summer, just to have something to do, to volunteer over the summer. And obviously you have that character, the psycho serial killer, right, that goes around and kills all the campers. So it's based off of Friday the 13th. So the producers put that into American Horror Story. You guys see what I'm saying? So what did I do random one day? I just decided to look into the founders of Lavelle. And Lavelle, if you guys aren't familiar with Lavelle or the entire Watts narrative, Lavelle was the company that Shannon Watts sold products for. There are a nutritional company that sells nutritional products for weight loss and energy. It's a MLM pyramid scheme. And of course you have pyramid And you know how the powers that be and the occultists like their pyramid shapes, so that's interesting as well. So I decided to look up the two founders of Lavelle. One of them is Jason Camper. I'm sure the majority of you have seen Friday the 13th at least probably one time. I mean, unless you're not, you just can't do horror films, right? But either way, even if you haven't seen it, I'm sure you've heard of it. Friday the 13th, the series is, you have a guy named Jason that goes around with his mask on, and he kills all the campers. So when I looked up Jason Camper, and I'll show you here a little article about him. Meet Jason Camper, co-CEO of Lavelle. And I'm not even gonna, I guess I could read some of this for you, but I just have these tabs open so I can just show you guys. So you don't even have to look it up yourself if you don't want to. I mean, if you want to read more about it, obviously, then yeah. But let me see here. One thing that I think is kind of special, he says, is that both Paul Gravett and I started right where all of the promoters started, with hopes and dreams. Going all in on Lavelle was scary, Camper says. Plenty of naysayers said a cloud-based business model wouldn't succeed. I've definitely learned a lot of patience. It's been a big roller coaster of ups and downs. If it's taught me one thing, I think it has to be faith. So if you guys are not familiar with Lavelle, I've done a lot of research on that company as well. Through my research, and in my opinion, it is not a good company. It is very, or it's definitely a MLM pyramid scheme company. If you go to their website, they have hardly any information about the company on there, as far as in their bio. And just about the background of Lavelle itself. So this company is not transparent, whatsoever. And for me personally, if I'm going to be using a company's products, I'm going to want some transparency, especially if it's that much money, right? They don't say on their website where they get their, first of all, their website is all, it's fancy. And you click on a video and it goes, oh yeah, and it's got the pumped up music, and you see the people slapping on their Thrive patches, right? Try Lavelle today and feel better. Yeah, right? I don't know what that is, but something like that. Anyways, it's not exactly like that. But they, click on the video, and then of course nothing in the video tells you anything about the products. They do have the labels, or the product ingredient labels on the website, and you have to click on each one and download a PDF, and it's just to go through all of them. It's just a pain in the ass instead of just having the ingredients listed there. So for as fancy as it is, there's not a lot of information on it. They don't say where they get their products from. They don't say who or if they even have any nutritionists, or scientists, or where the farms are that they're getting their products from that they're claiming are gluten free. So zero transparency. If you go to the Better Business Bureau, they actually have quite a high rating, which I'm very, very surprised, because pretty much every review on there is a negative review. Now, of course, you'll have the ones that are like, "Oh my God, it's amazing," and all this, and I've it's, you know, I've been using it forever, but and I don't know for sure, but it's probably likely that they're either people that work for Lavelle, right, or family members or whatever. But I'm still surprised that their review is that high. So, they've been in business since 2012. And it's interesting because 2012 pops up a lot in this case as well. Not a lot, but I mean several times. The Watts moved to Colorado in 2012. I think Vivint was even established in 2012, and that's, of course, the security company that the Watts used in their home. The Smith-Mundt Act of Modernization Act of 2012 was passed in 2012. There's even a couple more that I can't think off the top of my head. That's probably just a coincidence, but you never know. Something to keep in mind. But by having Shanann's Facebook, you know, and again, I'm sorry if this is, I probably should just stop apologizing if it's repetitive, but people have been giving me a hard time about beating a dead horse and being repetitive. But again, this information, if I am repetitive, it's because it's important, and I have to very, very politely beat it into your heads. I'm like, very politely, I'm like, no subscribers were harmed or viewers during this live stream, but I have to be repetitive, you know, and I'm not going to just throw information out there just because you guys want to hear it, or that's what you guys want to hear. The information that I talk about over and over again, it's significant and important in my theory and to this case. So hey, Lucia. I'm sorry you keep saying you're sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'll try not to do that anymore, but I'll try. Buddy says hello in the background. He's actually quite some distance away, thankfully. So the reason, in my opinion, why Shanann's Facebook profile, right, was left up, I mean, from, as far as I know, from day one. I didn't start covering this case until that, you know, at least December of that year. But as far as I know, her Facebook profile was up, and maybe one of you guys in the chat can verify that for me. It has been up since pretty much it happened, right? And why would they? I wonder. I mean, I know why, but if you look at it from a different perspective, why would they leave her Shanann's Facebook profile up, and then the Ruseks turn around and try to tell people that they're not allowed to talk about the case? Or why would the Ruseks go on Dr. Phil and pretty much promote the deaths of Shanann, and the deaths, quote unquote, of Shanann and the girls and Nico, right? Why would they stream the funeral live? Hey, Sour. Why would they stream the funeral live for millions of people to see, leave her Facebook open for millions of people to see, go on Dr. Phil for millions of people to see, right? And know about the case and get the case out there, if they didn't want people talking about the case? Like, that's pretty... Or turn around and tell people that they're not allowed to talk about the case. And not even just conspiracies. I've seen Sandy write comments on channels that have simply were just posting Shanann's videos and said, stop posting content about my daughter. So that's pretty, like, you know, pretty strange that they would do that. And essentially, you know, publicize their their deaths and then say we can't talk about it. So in my opinion, when I see how Shannon's Facebook was left up, I don't know how many followers she had prior to the event, but think about how many people have watched, with as big as this case is, and some people have probably never even heard of it, but with all of the documentaries, Dr. Phil, I mean, millions of people have seen or heard about this case. How many people do you think have watched, again, Shannon's videos? And what did she do for the most part, on those videos on her Facebook? If she wasn't, just filming the girls. She was selling Thrive, right? That's all she did. Thrive, thrive, thrive. Sell, sell, sell. So if you look at it from a marketing standpoint, right? Lavelle and Thrive had so much free publicity in this case. Like, it's insane. Thank you, Sour. Huge. I mean, huge. So it doesn't matter if it's related, because some people say, but why would people try Thrive or sign up for Lavelle when it's related to a murder case? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I've heard a lot of people say that they started not only selling Thrive after this case happened, but they also started using Thrive. Sorry, that sounded like a drug. I'm like, they started using again or something. I guess it could be kind of a drug, but I mean, it's actually quite genius if you think about it. I mean, so much free publicity by leaving Shannon's Facebook account open. And some people went back and watched them multiple times, over and over and over again. So they're still, beating that Thrive. And how many times did Shannon say? Because, of course, when that camera turns on, I cleaned the house. I gave the girls a bath. I took them to school. I cleaned the whole house again. I feel amazing, even though I have all these ailments. Thrive, thrive, thrive. Great, great, great. Nothing but great for my life, right? So you can only imagine how many people were like, I want to try Thrive. I mean, brilliant publicity stunt, in my opinion. And it worked. And it worked because I found an article, and I guess, like I said, you can't believe everything you read online. And unfortunately, I don't, maybe I can hopefully find it one day, but I don't know where, or even if companies have to, or if the information's public as far as their, stats on their sales or their income from the sales. I don't know if that's something that you could just go look up about a company. If anybody knows anything about that, please let me know. But I did find an article that states Lavelle's sales skyrocketed after the event. So can I, necessarily prove that the case was, or that the sales skyrocketing were because of Shannon's Facebook being open, or available to the public, or because of the case? No, because I don't have those stats. But it's still interesting to see that how much they did go up after the event. I mean, a lot, right? So I want to show you something, guys, here. Something else real quick about Jason Camper. If I can find it. So these ones, there's actually ones that say like I heart or Jason Camper's on them, but and granted, yeah, there's an S on the end. But when you add in all the other ones that I've just, the other 4, 5 that I've just mentioned, again, it starts to get less coincidental, right? And what are the odds that all the predictive programming that we have in this case, and the same way that the producers get their inspiration for the show, it just so happens that it's happening in the Watts narrative. So what are the odds of that? Yet, and that's why I try to tell people, it's like it's not just like 1 or 2 things, it's several things combined that make it not coincidental, and it makes it there on purpose. And we're not even close to being done yet. So I mean, don't worry, there's not like a ton more, but I take a long time. You guys know that. Okay, so now we have 5 connections. So let me skip to this one real quick. I should have put that one above, but so Shannon was buried in a shallow grave. Now this one could be stretching a little bit, right? But it might not be, because with the other connections. So in the case, you have the other co-CEO of Lavelle, which is Paul Gravette, and Shannon was buried in a shallow grave, and he just happens to have something related to death, something that just happens to fit. It would be exactly the same where Shannon was buried, right? So it's just kind of weird that based on all this horror stuff, that this man would have the word grave in the front of his last name, right? Hey, Vicky. And not only that, I didn't add these other ones in, but you have where Shannon and Chris went to San Diego, D-I-E, right? Then you have Nate's dog's name, which is Diesel, which also is D-I-E. So why are all these like and murder words happening in this case? Right? So again, the grave and the San Diego and the Diesel could be a stretch, but I still want to show those because they might not be. So, and there's a lot of other things that I've picked up on, but the ones that I put in my videos or that I put in this stream, they're the ones that are the most obvious, and ones that are likely not stretching, right? You're from San Diego, Throat Punch? I didn't know that. Okay. Now, not all the time, but sometimes that we've seen, the powers that be, the ones that are controlling the narrative of these events, right? Or orchestrating them, they will sometimes like to recycle names. So names or somebody's name that was in a different orchestrated event, they'll use it again in a future one. Not always, but sometimes. So when I started like putting all of this together and going, okay, this is really strange. Why am I seeing all these red flags that are in these other events? And started picking up on certain things. It was interesting that, because you guys know the whole thing with how the Ruseks call Shannon, and so everyone was confused. They're like, I thought it was Shannon, or I thought it was Shannon, not Shannon. So why did the Ruseks call Shannon? And so it's probably on purpose. I don't know, just throwing it out there, but to cause confusion. But either way, and I don't know the exact reason for sure. Like, I've heard different things as to why the Ruseks call her Shannon and why the narrative says her name's Shannon. I don't know if she changed it legally. I don't know if that's just what people started calling her because she likes Shannon better. But either way, her as far as I know, her birth name is Shannon. So and then, in the future, further on, people started calling her Shannon. So when I heard that, I was like, that's weird, because I know another Shannon Watts, right? Hey, Laurel. Who just so happens, and it's blurred out because I'm on YouTube still. But you have Shannon Watts, who became a huge gun control activist after another one of these orchestrated events, a big one that's blurred out, and hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about. So again, they like to recycle names in these events. Okay, meet Shannon Watts, founder of Moms Demand Action. Shannon Watts is a mother of 5 who, prior to founding Moms Demand Action, was a stay-at-home mom and former communications executive. Okay, I'm going to just scroll past that because we don't need those words on there. Let's see. Oh, God. Okay. Shannon started a Facebook group with the message that all Americans can and should do more to reduce pew 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 violence. The online conversation turned into a grassroots movement of Americans fighting for public safety measures that protect people from pew 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 violence. So major pew 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 control activists. And again, with these orchestrated events, there's always going to be multiple agendas that are going to be pushed. Whether it be to take away rights, whether it be to, again, pass laws, whether it be to cause division, to distract, to use fear on us, right? Because the best way to control people is with fear. So depending on that specific event, that's going to, obviously, the agendas are going to cater to that event. Yeah, pew, pew, pew. So we're not going to keep this up any longer because YouTube doesn't like when you talk about that event at all. So, I know we're only on page 1, but there's not that many pages, I promise. And again, most of these, or 99% of these, are in my videos that I've made. But again, I wanted to put them into one area for you guys to see. Okay, so back to how the producers of American Horror Story are like infatuated and grew up watching horror films. It made sense to me when I it hit me and I said, oh, Christopher Lee. I know Christopher Lee. He's been in hundreds of films, right? British actor. So you have Christopher Lee, the actor, well known as his role as Dracula, the original, obviously. And then you have our main character here, right? Good old Christopher Lee Watts. Now, again, Christopher Lee is probably a really common first and middle name, right? But you have to remember and take into consideration all of the other connections. So it's not like I'm just going, oh, Christopher Lee Watts. Yep, it's definitely orchestrated, and there's everybody in the American Horror Story has to, they're the ones doing it, or whoever's doing it. Again, not the case whatsoever. That would be ridiculous. But how many does there have to be until it stops becoming coincidental? Till people wake up and see that they're literally throwing this shit in our faces. With it's actually, I don't like to give them, kudos for anything or praise them, but the amount of preparation and planning and orchestrating that went into this case is amazing. I've never seen so much like just connections and predictive programming in one case by itself. Like, I mean, there's a lot in others, but nothing like this. So, okay, Callie, thank you for being here. I know it's late for you. And I know I take forever. I'm trying. Okay. Okay, so real quick, if you guys aren't familiar with who Christopher Lee is, Sir Christopher Frank Carandini Lee, born May 27th, 1922, died June 7th, 2015, was an English actor, singer, and author with a career spanning nearly 7 decades. Lee was well known for portraying villains, gaining recognition for appearing as Count Dracula in a sequence of Hammer horror films. Lee was knighted for service to drama and charity in 2019, receiving the BAFTA Fellowship in 2011 and received the BFI Fellowship in 2013. Okay, so this guy, in a nutshell, has been he was in many, many horror films, and other films as well over his lifetime. So it's interesting, that the two producers of the show who grew up infatuated and watching these classic horror films, and with all the other connections, right? What are the odds that this guy, who was a major actor in these horror films, just so happens to bear the same name as Chris, or vice versa, right? Okay, page 2. Yay! I think. Okay, alright, hold on. Oh, now it's huge again. Okay, sorry about that. I was like, I don't know how to get to the next slide. Oops. Okay, so this one, I know there's a lot on here, but I promise you this one is not going to take, this page will not take long. Okay, I can't promise that, but these are just, you know, obviously comparing the characters here. So, again, all this information on this page is in my American Horror Story videos as well as my other connection videos. I will try to remember to put all of the videos that I talk about or reference in the description when, you know, after this is over. Okay, Sour, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Okay, well, hopefully you guys can see that. I don't... Oh, okay. There we go. Again, I don't know how to make it full screen and make it so it picks up my screen. Or the full screen part. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay, because my speaker, my mic is... my mic's kind of far away from me, so... I will try to pull it closer. Okay. So, in American Horror Story, there's several, as you can see, characters in American Horror Story that have the same name as people that are in the Watts narrative, right? So as I'm watching American Horror Story from season 1 all the way up to season 9, right? I just kept noticing that a lot of these characters in the show were the same as in the Watts case. So right off the bat, and for the most part, I believe these are in order from season 1, so they're chronological, season 1 to season 9. If they're not in order on this one, I apologize, but they are in my videos. So in Murder House, season 1, you have two twin boys that go into the murder house and you know, start messing around with it and destroying things in it. Now, I didn't put this one in my video, my first one, because I didn't realize it, and 2, Troy is a you know, it's a common name. But again, keep in mind as we go through these, when does it stop becoming coincidental, right? And just because, let's say, like, obviously, like, Troy is a kid in the show, his character, and Troy McCoy is obviously an adult, and Chris's co-worker, you have to think outside the box. So you can't be like, well, Troy's a kid and Troy McCoy is an adult. So like, that's, you know, even though it's not exactly, they're not going to make, even though I said that they put it right in our faces, they're not going to make it exact where it's going to be too obvious. They're going to want to make it difficult for people like myself, right? And so that I look crazy. But as we go on, you will see that I'm not crazy. Not that crazy. Okay, so again, Troy, bully kid, Troy McCoy, and a dark room employee, Chris's coworker. I'm pulling up a picture for you. And if you guys don't, let me know if you guys don't need me to show you the pictures of all the characters. I just, I should have added them into the actual PowerPoint, but so I'm just trying to pull them up on my slow computer just so you guys can actually see it. But if you guys don't care about that, just let me know, because it will take a little bit longer. But I wanted to give you guys like some sort of visual to because for that, you know, shock value, I guess. Not shock value. I don't know what other word to use, but we can watch together how slow my computer is. I clicked on the picture a few seconds ago. And we're still waiting. Hey, Fox. Good to see you. And it's still loading, I think. Hey, Nuckenfuts. It's a funny name. Very clever. Okay, finally. We did it. Okay, so here's Troy. You know, obviously he's a kid. He's not an adult, but we still have Troy McCoy. And again, I'll say it again. I don't care if I'm repetitive. It's, yes, is it just a common name? Is it just one connection? Yes. But I'm not coming to this conclusion just based off of just one character's name being Troy and somebody in the case being Troy. That would be ridiculous. So, but I have to, you know, keep clarifying that for some people that will try to put words in my mouth or say, that's crazy. Troy's a common name. You don't know what you're talking about, right? So it's based off of, you know, many other connections. So, okay. I wonder if I can just go to the next one off here. I don't know. Okay, so then you have also in Murder House, the first season. Hey, Mary Rose. You have Adelaide or Addie, who is the Harmon's, the main family, the main characters, is the Harmon's neighbor. I'm sorry. And then you have Addie Maloney, which was Shannon's Thrive friend from Thrive. So now we have 2, right? I don't know why I keep counting for you guys like you can't count. I'm going to probably stop doing that, but well, 2 connections. 2 AHS. 3. Okay. Okay, clicked on the picture. It's loading. Oh, it came up much faster that time. Okay. So here is Adelaide, or AKA Addie Langdon. Again, the Harmon's neighbor in Murder House. Hey, Alyssa. Yeah, I am familiar with the Unveilus Regina Klee. She makes great videos. I actually reference her in, I think, my second American Horror Story video. But yeah, she's great. I wish she would make more videos. Okay, again, so Adelaide Addie Langdon, Harmon's neighbor. So just to show you guys visual that, and, you know, comparison. So that way you guys don't just think I'm just saying, oh, that's this character and this character. And then now you guys don't even have to, like, go and look it up. I mean, you can. Of course, I want you to go and verify this information that I'm giving to you guys. But I do this so that, you know, you don't have to. But although you should, right? Because don't believe me, don't believe anyone. That's for sure. All right. Moving on. Okay, then you have next Chad Warwick, which is one of the previous homeowners and also a ghost in the house. And so, spoiler alert, maybe for anybody who hasn't seen it, but it shouldn't like spoil it too much for you. But I do. If you know this case, like most of you do, if you can, and I know that the American Horror Story is really graphic, and some people, they just can't take it and they can't deal with that. But I do encourage you to watch it from start to finish, even though I don't want to promote that show at all, right? But it will have, if you watch it from start to finish, and if you know this case well, if you finish the anthology and you don't have a different outlook on this case, you know, especially even after everything that I've shown and explained, I would be very surprised. Hey, Eddie. Good to see you. Okay, so Chad Warwick, previous homeowner, and then you have Chad McNeil, who is an Anadarko employee and also Chris Watts' fellow co-worker. Okay? And yes, they're just the first names of these, but again, how many does it take till it stops being coincidental? And remember, as this picture is loading, oh, never mind, it was actually quite fast. Here's Chad Warwick, played by Zachary Quinto. What did I say it all white? Quinto. Murder House. Chad McNeil, Chad Warwick. Okay, moving on. That was fast. Okay, next connection here, we have Luke Maxey, who is works for the security company that the Harmons, that live in the murder house, the security company that the Harmons use for their house. Then you have Luke Eppel, Anadarko supervisor, and also Chris Watts supervisor. Did I save him? This one? Oh, it's this one. Okay. Hey, Gwen. Can't get Scottsdale out of my head. What? The American Horror Story connection? Or because Shannon went to Scottsdale? Mary Rose, yeah, it is on Netflix. I don't know about all of the season. No, I don't know if they have 1984 yet, but is it going to come up? Okay, so here's the character Luke Maxey, played by Morris Chestnut. Human. Heirloom. Heirloom is a security company. Security officer. And obviously, like, you have to think outside the box. So just because, like, Luke Epple and the actor that plays Luke Maxey they are different nationalities, it's not going to be like they're not going to fit perfect, right? These are supposed to be in our face, but they're also supposed to be subliminal, right? But you can't deny that it's not weird that, all of these characters have the same names as people that were involved in the Watts narrative. I mean, I don't know how anybody could, but I know they will. Okay, next is Kit Walker. Now, we first are introduced to Kit Walker in Asylum. The season Asylum. He's a patient at Briar Cliff. A sane asylum, right? Interesting enough, Al Walker was Anadarko's CEO at the time that the event took place. Now, I don't know if he still is. I don't believe, because obviously they had the acquisition and they sold, or were bought out by Occidental. But at the time, hey Mark, at the time, Al Walker was the CEO of Anadarko. So what are the odds that we have a Walker, and again, I guess it's common last name, right? But you have to remember all of these other name connections. Then you have that picture. Do you guys know about the picture where it shows the hazmat team allegedly pulling the girls out of the oil tanks? And there's two firemen or hazmat crew, but they're firemen. They work for or they work at one of the other counties, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. I meant to put it in this, but it'll come to me hopefully. But another fire department in another county that the Well County called and asked to come help with the hazmat crew. But in that picture is an A on the back of the firemen's jackets. It said, or uniforms. It says A Walker and L Walker. They're brothers that work for that fire department. So not only do we have Kit Walker, but we have 3 Walkers that are associated with the Watts narrative. I don't think I added his picture because it was blurry or something, but I could do this. Nope. Okay, Kit Walker is a Briarcliff inmate falsely accused of bloody face killings. He is a character in Asylum portrayed by Evan Peters. But it's interesting that Miss Lana, and if you guys aren't familiar totally with the Watts case, Lana is someone who, after 2 years that the event happened, apparently she's been in like Facebook groups and stuff like that, and that people know about. Hey, Desiree. But after 2 years, she pops up on a bigger channel, one of the larger channels that cover true crime in the Watts case, and starts saying she's got all these, she found all these discrepancies in the discovery, and that, I mean, pretty much saying, she doesn't ever come right out and say it, but pretty much implies that other people are involved in the murders, and just pretty much causing chaos, right, in the true crime community. As well as another channel creator that came out of the woodwork with strange connections to the Book of Revelations. I made a video on it, but I don't want to get off track. But I do want to mention this because Lana Winters is also a character in Asylum, American Horror Story. Let's see if I might actually talk about it right here. Okay, well, I don't... Wait, oh, there it is. Okay, so Lana's character pretty much in Asylum is... She's a nobody, like, journalist, right? Who believes that Kit Walker, who was falsely accused of these murders, which Lana, you know, the one that came out of nowhere, is trying to pretty much claim prove Chris is innocent, and trying to get him another chance and to get him a trial in a 35C, because again she believes he didn't commit the crimes, right? So what are the odds that this Lana comes out of nowhere over 2 years later and has the same name as one of the characters in the show? And not only that, but both Lana and the Lana character try to prove this guy's innocence of murder, right? Because he was falsely accused. I mean, seriously, like I can't make this stuff up if I tried, you guys. And she's, you know, acting like kind of like a journalist lawyer. She's got her binders, and she's, you know, again, trying to prove that Chris Watts is innocent. And he was falsely accused, even though he confessed, right? So I just thought I'd throw that out there. Just another name connection that I didn't add in there because, you know, she is not a part of the, like, initial, like, narrative. You know what I mean? But still something to keep in mind. Okay, next we have Charlotte Brown. Charlotte Brown's character in Asylum. She is admitted into the asylum, and she, for whatever reason, claims that she is, or believes she is the real Anne Frank. Then you have Charlotte Nielsen, who is Nicole Kassinger's friend. The only one that she allegedly told Chris about, that she was dating Chris. We're all familiar with Charlotte. Then you have still Charlotte Brown, and you have Anthony Brown, which is also an Anadarko employee. Now, is Charlotte a common name? Is Brown a common name? And are people going to think that I'm totally stretching and just, like, looking for stuff? Probably. But again, we're not even halfway down the list yet. And we have all of these name connections. Is it buffering? Oh, and then, okay, I'll show you the picture again here. Okay, so Charlotte Brown, portrayed by this actress, Franca Potente. Human Okay. So this one is one of, to me, the a more telling connection. In the season of Freak Show, titled Freak Show, you have the characters, Betty and Dot Tatler, who are conjoined twins, so that's why obviously they're in the Freak Show. Then you have good old sweet Betty that we're so familiar with, right? Who, boy, she's sweet, right? I mean, how could you not love Betty, right? She was like, for the most part, a great witness. She helped, with giving the details of the truck and whatnot. So, what are the odds that another character in the show just happens to have the same name as somebody in the Watts narrative? Not only that, but I personally have not met a lot of Bettys. I don't actually even know any Bettys. Doesn't mean that it's not a popular name, but it's also spelled, Bette, but both spelled exactly the same. It's not like it's Betty and then Bette, which could still be a connection. It doesn't have to be the exact spelling because you have all the other name connections. But it's even more telling that it's the exact same spelling. Again, how many does it take for it to stop being coincidental? Okay, so here you're Betty and Dot Tatler, character from American Horror Story, human. Okay, next. Sorry, I know this is already 2 hours, so I need to hurry up here. I mean, I don't care. I don't have anywhere to be. I just know that when people watch the replay, they're like, oh my god, it's so long. You take forever. Okay, then you have next character is Sally McKenna, who is the ghost at the Hotel Cortez in the season of Hotel. Then you have McKenna Lindstrom, who is the Lindstrom's daughter, but also was the Watts babysitter who was interviewed in the case. So once again, we have another name connection. I don't think I saved that one. Let's go here. Here's your Sally McKenna is a ghost junkie who has been permanently residing in the Hotel Cortez ever since she was murdered in 1994. Okay, so, and again, just because it's not a young girl, like a teenage girl, and this is obviously like a junkie, or a character that's a junkie, right? It doesn't have to be exact. This is just, it's supposed to be in our faces, but it's also subliminal, right? And it's their way of, in my opinion, mocking us, right? They're literally throwing it in our faces in these movies, in these television shows, in these events, right in our faces. And the majority of people have no idea. Okay, our next character in the show is Myrtle Snow. She's also a hotel guest and a ghost in the season of Hotel. In the Watts narrative, Chris and Shannon and the families took the girls to Myrtle Beach in North Carolina right before the event happened. Now, is it Myrtle Beach and Myrtle the name? Again, could it be stretching? It could, but not when you have all of these other connections with it, right? Okay, this is not Myrtle Snow. This is Myrtle Snow. This is a video, but Myrtle Snow, American Horror Story, Hotel. Next one is, this one is pretty interesting. Hazel Evers is the hotel head maid at Hotel Cortez. In, again, the season Hotel. Hotel. Hazel Heckers was the victim's advocate in the Watts narrative and the one who came in and talked to Nicole Kessinger during her interview and tried to, help her out with the job and so on and so forth. Interesting about that is when I first tried, towards the beginning of this case, when I first tried to find information on Hazel Heckers, our victim's advocate, I could not find hardly any information on that woman. Anything about her. Even though she was obviously appeared in the case, in the show. No, but, and then when I went to find a picture of her a few months later for one of my videos, and I put her name in, all of these videos came up. They were never on YouTube about her, victim's advocate and what she does, and articles about her. It was the strangest thing because I literally could not find anything on that woman until months later, and then all of a sudden all this stuff popped up. Just saying. Hey, Roxy. Hey, Gwen. So yeah, very strange. Oh, and I did find after, all that stuff started popping up about her, she's actually a victim's advocate in the identity theft department. She's not a victim's advocate for victims in homicide cases. So it's weird in this case. Like, I don't know if it's because it's a small town or county or whatever, but there seemed to be several people that had several different jobs or roles in this in the case, right? Like they were short on staff or something. But I don't know. I just thought it was weird that, to me personally, you're dealing with two totally different departments. Homicide and identity theft as far as victim advocating goes for. So I don't know. Just thought it was interesting. Did I show you guys a picture already? I don't remember. Okay, so here's Hazel Evers. Sounds very similar to Hazel Heckers, but Hazel Evers. Again, what are the odds that we have another name? Okay, next one is Matt and Shelby Miller. Matt and Shelby Miller are first introduced into the anthology in Roanoke. They buy a house in North Carolina that ends up being possessed, and strange things start to happen. There's a whole colony, a dead colony of people, right, that harass and terrorize them while they're staying in this house, right? So husband and wife. We have Shannon, who worked with Chris Miller, and now Chris Miller is not like a huge or like a main character or bigger character or part of this Watts narrative, but if you do know the case, you'll know that he's the one that Shannon worked with, but also that people have this rumor going around that Cece or Bella or one of them is really Chris Miller's daughter. Now, is Miller a very common last name? Again, yes. Do I think it's stretching when it comes to all of these other connections? No. But even if I took out, the Miller and the Brown connection, right? Because they're common last names, you still have all of those other connections to support my theory and what I'm saying. Hey, Jack Boog. Okay, here's your Shelby Miller character, portrayed by Lily Rabe. Okay, next on the list is Meadow Wilson, and she, her character first appears in the season Cult. And his is also a neighbor to the two main characters. So even though I'm not telling you guys like a whole bunch of details, it's the names that are important. I go through those. I keep saying again, I go through those in detail on my videos. So it's supposed to be Meadow Wilton, not Wilson. So Meadow Wilton, Wilton. Then you have Ann Meadows, who was the Watts realtor in the Watts case. Then you also have in 1984, just bring this up real quick, 1984, you have the killer who escapes from Meadow Asylum, something Meadow Asylum. So you have another Meadow in there. Just saying. Okay, here's Meadow Wilton, played by Leslie Grossman, Cult member. She also, and then several of these characters or these actors play in different seasons as well, but as other characters, because the characters are always constantly changing, and sometimes they will throw in the same character in a different season. But there's several actors that do play in multiple seasons. So just so you know, if you haven't seen it. Okay, we're speeding through these. Next on the list is Montana Duke, camp counselor in the season of 1984. Nicole Kessinger's dog's name is Duke. What are the odds, right? Now again, I keep saying again, just because one's a dog, right, and the other is an actual person, their character, it's the names that are important. So it doesn't matter if the character's gay and the other one is a female. It's all of these name connections that are what's important. Okay, here's Montana Duke, American Horror Story, ghost, female, from Los Angeles, California. And she also, this actress plays in several seasons as well. But this is from, her character, Montana Duke, is from 1984, the 9th season, season 9. Okay, so then this next one is pretty interesting because after watching season 8, I literally thought to myself, I was like, I mean, they've pretty much knocked out the majority of people that were involved in the Watts case, right? And the only one that they haven't used, of course, this Bella connection comes after the CC connection. But so there was the CC connection, and then that's when I was like, they've used pretty much the majority of people involved in the case, the same names, and except for Bella, right? Well, 1984, you have Roy, the character, I believe it's Roy. He's the gas station attendant slash mechanic slash, because the camper or the counselors are going to the camp, and so it's out in the middle of nowhere. So of course you're going to have that little tiny stop area, right? That has a combination, and they all do, right? So the guy's multiple jobs. He's working in the scene. It opens, and I would love to play the videos for you guys on here, which I forgot to mention. I would rather do that and just show you guys, but I can't because I'll get a copyright strike, especially if I'm live. So, or more than likely, and I don't want to risk that. So, but if I was on D Live only, I could do that, but not on YouTube. So picture the opening scene, right? I'm just kidding. He's working on a car, and all of a sudden, across the screen, it goes, and there's a cat, and the mechanic goes, "Dang it, Bella, you scared the heck out of me." And I was like, I think I was drinking something at the time. I almost spit whatever I was drinking out. Because I literally, no joke, just got done saying that they've pretty much used everybody's, names besides Bella. And sure as shit, I mean, they literally made Bella the cat. Threw that in there. Like, let's make sure we knock all these out, guys, in the 9th season. Let's just throw Bella in there. We haven't thrown that one in there yet, right? And the only one that they haven't mentioned is Nicole Kessinger, and she seems to just be untouchable as far as mentioning her in Discoveries go, in American Horror Story. And it might just maybe make it too obvious. I don't know, even though Nicole is a common name. But, okay. So, Bella the cat. Then and I'm not going to show you a picture of the cat, but it's in that season. Okay, so in the season of Cult, titled Cult, there is a specific episode that covers the Zodiac killings and the Zodiac killer, where Cecilia, or Cece Shepherd, which I'm going to show you, is mentioned in a scene. And if you're not familiar with the Zodiac killer or the story, this is Cecilia Shepherd. She died September 29th, 1969, and she was stabbed to death by the Zodiac killer, or so they believe, right? So, Cecilia Cece, I can't make this stuff up, you guys. Like, what are the odds that we now have 2 of the main people involved in the case, like Bella and Cece, with connections to the case? Okay. Oops. And then this is actually that image that I just showed you is a screenshot from my video, and as well as this one. So this is the scene, and she's pointing out that she knows, because she's trying to take, and I'm having a brain fart right now, but she's claiming that she's the one's actually responsible, this character, for the Zodiac killings. So she goes to the police station, and of course the police don't believe her, right? But she writes down the names of the victims, and I know it's hard to see, but if you zoom in, it says Cecilia, and that's what led me to Google Zodiac Killer and find Cecilia Shepard, one of the victims. So, and again, you have Cece. So, there you go. Moving on. And I'm sorry if I'm saying the same words over and over again. I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to not do that like. At least I don't say like all the time. That's good, right? Okay. So next, if I can figure out how to get to the next page again, we can move forward. If anybody knows how to do that, let me know. If I go to slideshow, it won't view. I don't ever use PowerPoint, so, or whatever this is, Libre Point. There used to be the slides right here that I could just go to, but then when I made it like kind of bigger screen, I don't understand why when I press. Let's see if it works. It didn't work. It doesn't work. Okay, maybe we'll have to do a part 2 actually, because I take way too long. Okay, sorry guys. There's a lot more information than I thought, but that's good. Okay, so let me see if I can zoom in here without making it too big so you guys can see it. So I made a video on this as well, but how many people or how many times have you heard someone say, why are there so many? Oh, you're fine, but no, please, no, like. Hi, Linda. I won't, I promise. How many times have you heard someone say, why is there so many, there's so many people involved in this case that share that have the name Lee? Yes, is Lee a very, very common name, middle name? Yes, this is probably one of the, if not the most common. I don't know. Ow. I'm like, ow. I just hit my elbow. I don't know, the numbers, but it's common. When it stops becoming coincidental is when it's when there's so many in a specific area, right? So let's say if you go and you ask a certain number of your coworkers, right? Ask them what their middle name is out of the number of, main characters in this case. And if they all say Lee, then I'll be the first one to come out and say I was wrong, right? But, and it's not only that, but they use these because they love their names, right? I told you guys that. They love their names, their numerology, their their letters, their duality. They love duality. So it makes sense why they would have also Lee. But they also will pick a common name so that when someone like myself or anybody else tries to say, oh, this isn't just coincidental, this is, has something to do with the powers that be and the occult or whatever, then they're going to automatically dismiss that due to the commonality of that name. However, if you look up the meaning of some of these names, it starts to make a lot of sense. And it, again, starts to become less coincidental. Especially if you know how they love their names and their meanings and their symbolism. So you have Christopher Lee Watts, Nico Lee Watts, Ronnie Lee Watts, Nicole Lee Kessinger, Dwayne Lee Kessinger, and Tammy Lee. And I think I might even be missing one, but maybe not. So I go into more detail about all this in my video, but if you look up the name Lee, it has multiple, spelling variations. So it could be like the Chinese variation or, whatever. I don't know what word I'm looking for, not religion, but it has several variations. So when I looked it up, interesting enough, not only is it spelled Lee, but then you have the spelling variation of Li. And then you have the other variation spelled Lie, which is also the English word for lie. So not only do they put this symbolism in, but they have been, in several other events, they will tell us and admit that these orchestrated events are a lie, that they're fabricated, right? And I know it sounds a little conspiratorial, it sounds crazy, but the proof is in the patterns, in my opinion, especially when you don't have a lot of solid physical evidence to fall back on or to provide. Not because I don't want to or that it wasn't there before, but they scrub it. They literally scrub this information. So it makes it difficult, again, for someone like myself or other people, other truthers, to provide evidence to back up what they're saying. So again, when I look that up and I see that another variation is lie, and there's several other instances in this case where lie comes up. And they also will use it in like a suffix of a word. So it could be, for instance, like Colleen, which is not the suffix, but like Kaylee would be the suffix of that name. Or they'll use it like Colleen in the middle of another word or another name. They're very, very clever. I mean, they think they're clever. They are clever, but they're not that clever because, we've obviously been picking up on it. And again, the amount of preparation and just how they incorporate all this stuff into these events, into these narratives is again, quite amazing. And I don't want to give them any kudos, but it is. And remember that they're usually planned years in advance. And that's why they are so successful. And that's why they are able to incorporate all their symbolism and whatnot into these cases or events. Now, Colleen Bolt and Kaylee Henson, Kaylee Henson is I believe the forensics analyst or something. And then Colleen Bolt is Trent Bolt's mother, the one who claimed to have a romantic relationship with Chris. Those are just two examples. I mentioned several examples in my video. Then you have Li, Li, which is one of the 13 Illuminati bloodlines. And in these events, you're going to find occult symbolism, Freemasonic symbolism in these events. It's inevitable. You'll find them. And the numerology, your 13, your 33, your double letters, your double numbers, your prime numbers. So with Shannon went to the Thirsty Lion in Arizona. Now there's another creator that I mentioned in my last video, channel creator by the name of RV Truth. He has been covering other events, not in true crime, but these other tragic events where they're orchestrated, and points out a lot of the same symbolism, whether it be these letters, these words, colors that they like to use. They like to use certain colors in these events. So they're using the same things in all of these orchestrated events. That's how it's easy to spot these if you know about them, right? So in one of his more recent videos about a different event, I can't mention it, but he mentions how the victim, the alleged victim, his name was Ashley, and spelled Li, Ashli, Ashley, or Ash Lie. Lion is also used in Freemasonry, and can be found all over Freemasonic text, right? So that's a huge Masonic symbol, is the lion. So when I found out that Shannon went to the Thirsty Lion, not only is it that Masonic symbolism, but then you also have that lie in there. And now is Li, 2 letters that are the most common letters in the alphabet, and in a lot of words, yes. But if you know how these people operate, and again, how they love their words and symbolism, it becomes less coincidental. So just like how both of the families are from North Carolina, and these are just a couple references, or a couple examples, right? So I didn't want to go through and name every single one. Maybe I should have, but I do mention again in my videos. Like, I'm all promoting my videos, but because they're essentially, like I said, telling us that the whole thing is a lie. Because if they tell us that, right, like I said earlier, if they tell us what they're doing or what they're going to do in the future, and we're too stupid to realize it, then that's our own fault, and they don't have any karma on their hands because they told us, right? So on the porch, the interview that Chris does, that we've all seen probably a million times, right? The reporter is asking him questions, and she says something along the lines of, so Shannon went to North, and then she stops her question, like, abruptly, and then goes, where'd you get that shirt? And Chris is like, oh, she goes, didn't Shannon get it for you? And he goes, oh yeah, I think she got it from Amazon or something. He's like, oh, this is my, I love these shirts, my favorite shirts, right? And at the time, I didn't I knew that it was odd, but I didn't know why. And then once I finally did know why, it made so much more sense. And it is odd because it's like, why would this reporter, when Chris is supposed to be giving out information about his family, and so that, you know, and pleading for the safe return of his missing family, why would the reporter start asking about Shanann being in North Carolina, stop, completely do like a 180 and go, where'd you get that shirt? What does it matter where he got his shirt from? How is, you know, where he got his shirt from, how is that going to help find his missing family? It doesn't. It doesn't whatsoever. So why would she ask that question to Chris? Why would she say, where'd you get your shirt? A, why does she care? And B, again, what in the hell does that have to do with finding his family? But Little Miss Reporter, in my opinion, fudged up her lines. Because again, they work, all these mainstream media outlets work for the powers that be. They're all owned by the same people that are trying to run this world. Okay? So when they go into those news conference or those press conferences and they ask questions, they are limited to what questions they can ask. They can't ask whatever questions they want. So, and they're all controlled by the same people and companies. So yeah, so little reporter, right, messes up her line. And again, what does Chris do? Oh yeah, it's my favorite shirt. He kind of pulls his shirt and points right to where it says Carolina. Because what they're doing, you guys, is they're telling us that the whole thing is a lie. Because then they don't have any karma on their hands. And it's mockery. North Carolina. And that's just, again, one of those examples. There's several others, like, of course I'm trying to remember, like, there's several others. Or maybe I'm thinking of the raw, well, you have the in the discovery where investigators are asking Chris what the girls were wearing the night before, the night that it happened. And Chris tells them that one of them was wearing, he thinks, a nightgown with a unicorn on it. And then and then the other one is wearing a nightgown that says believe on it. That's one of those instances when I tell you guys that the majority of what they show us in this case or tell us means something. And things that they specifically ask Chris or ask Kessinger or anybody else, and their response is important. So when Chris says that one of the girls is wearing a nightgown that says believe on it, what word do you have in the middle of the word believe? Lie. Lie, right? Believe. Because again, they're admitting that the whole thing is a lie. And you also have several other things like Raleigh and several other people in the case, like because Chris flies into Raleigh. Several other people that have Lee incorporated into their name, whether it be sounding like Lee or it's spelled like Lee. Likely it's spelled likely. Okay, moving on. So then now we have all the Nick names, but Nick dash names. You have Nicole Lee Kessinger, Nico Lee Watts, which when combined, what are the odds? Spells Nicole. A lot of coincidental things in this case. Nicole Atkinson, Nicholas Atkinson, her son, and then you have Nicholas or Nick Thayer, the Watts friend. Nicole Kennedy, which is Chris's cousin. I can't remember exactly, family member, or it's a sister-in-law, not sister-in-law, but I think it's a cousin. Somebody, one of you guys in the chat, I know you'll know. But hey, Margette. Hey, Stephanie. I think the chat is like super delayed too. But I'm just gonna keep going because this is already long enough as it is. Okay, so again, is Nicole a common name? Or Nicholas and Nicole? Just like Lee? Yes. But when there's that many in one area, in one case, and when it, you have the combination of Nico and Lee and it makes Nicole, it's like, come on. Like, what are the odds of that? And not only do you have the, and then I'm sorry, and Amanda Nicole McMahon, which is the other person who came out and claimed to have a romantic relationship or one night stand with Chris. But what makes it less coincidental is just like the Lee names. If you search the meaning behind Nicole or Nicholas, you'll find that the male given name derived from Nicholas or Nicholas, is a Greek meaning for victor of people and conqueror of the people. These the powers that be, these people that are again trying to run this country and who are orchestrating these events, these tragic events, and psychologically like manipulating people and doing so much damage. They're trying to conquer us by taking away our rights, by using that Hegelian dialectic that I always talk about, the problem, reaction, solution, controlling people with fear, passing laws. So they're essentially trying to control us. They're trying to conquer us. So it's very interesting to me that so many people in this case have the name, not Lee, Nicole or Nicholas, and the name means victor of people and conqueror of the people. Because they're trying to control us. So they make these events as tragic as possible so that people don't think logically. No matter how unrealistic or not possible it seems, even if someone doesn't believe that those girls could fit into 8-inch holes, it might cross their mind and go, oh, that's kind of small. I don't wonder how they got in there. But all they're thinking of is how tragic it is that those girls were placed in oil for 2 days and that Shannon was buried in a shallow grave. And so when people get emotional, they stop thinking logical. All logic goes out the window. So it doesn't matter how many inconsistencies or if stuff doesn't add up, or again, if it seems unrealistic that Chris could actually commit these murders because he doesn't fit the profile, it doesn't matter because all they're thinking is how tragic, how sad, how awful. Okay, then I might end it there because it's now almost 3 hours long. So yeah, I think I will. So the next live will cover 1, 2, 3, these ones. And there's quite a few. So if you guys can see, obviously right here, like look at all these connections. And these aren't ones that are just they're not stretching by all means. And how many again does it take? I know I keep saying again. Drink every time I say again. That'll be fun, right? So let me just look at the chat real quick. And I apologize. I don't apologize for this being so long, but it is what it is, I guess. It says that the stream is 13 seconds behind, so I'm sure that the chat is probably behind as well. But for anybody that came here or came in during the live stream and I didn't see you, hello, and I'm not ignoring you. Oh yeah, of course, Nuck and Futz. I start laughing every time I say that. Definitely an ad for Amazon. Free publicity for sure. Yeah, they said, well, I think actually they said, Stephanie, that Bella was a juvenile, right? Because I think I just actually read that on my last live stream, but and this is just some of them. It just takes me a long time to get through them. But that's why I wanted to put this together to show how it's not possible. Like, it's not possible for all of these connections to be coincidental. Now, let's say, before I end this, I want to say real quick, let's say hypothetically, like, the American Horror Story teaser that came on Nate's TV, right? That aired on Nate's TV. Let's say that never existed, right? Never happened. And then I just happened to go watch American Horror Story and found these connections. Would it be shocking to me? Yes. And would it's with that American Horror Story coming on Nate's TV, that's what makes it even more less coincidental. Do you see what I'm saying? So by them doing that, it only, in my opinion, supports my theory even more. Because they wanted us to see that teaser. It was put there on purpose. And what are the odds that it just happens to practically mirror the Watts narrative to a T? You know what I mean? And with all these connections, it makes it not so spiritual, I guess, or like a sign, even though, I do believe in that kind of stuff. But with all these connections, it's not as much as of a miracle or a sign anymore, in my opinion. I was just reading the chat. Okay, well, I'm going to end this now. I'll try to do, part 2 tomorrow, hopefully. I plan on it. And I wanted to, again, knock these all out. And I just said again, drink. I said it again. Again. I'm just kidding. I wanted to do it all in one live stream, but of course, I probably knew that wasn't going to happen because